All right, welcome back into another episode of Indiebnb. Today we are joined by Andrew Choi, aka Saint Lenox, hanging
Right.
out up in New Jersey. How we doing today?
Good. We randomly had the gas company doing some construction out in front of the house, and they dug up the front of the yard. So that was unexpected. We were not expecting that. Yeah.
It looks like your Saturday is going to be a little bit more landscaping than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, well, our yard is really not the most kept up, so this gives us an excuse to have it look a little shittier than everybody else's yard. So at least we have a reason why now.
Well, awesome. Well, I mean, obviously not awesome that happened, but you'll be able to, it'll come back stronger than ever, after the winter time. I
hope so. I hope so. I hope the tree in our house, in front of our house, wasn't killed, but it happens.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, want to talk about some of your music, and honestly want to start with the journey to get to this St. Lenox project. I mean, like, what led you here, Andrew? Like, what's in your musical past? Like, give us kind of a brief overview of where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it short. I was a concert violinist for many years. I won some international and national competitions. I trained at Juilliard for a bit, or at least connected to the Juilliard School for a bit of time. I was the concertmaster of the World Youth Symphony Orchestra at Interlaken. Did a bunch of stuff, and then I stopped music basically I used it to get me into college. And I showed up at Princeton, and the orchestra director called me up and was excited to have me join. And I said, nope, not interested. See you later. And I stopped doing music for a number of years until about the maybe second to last year of graduate school. And just took up karaoke because I came back from a graduate student philosophy conference that I'd presented at. I was a little nervous, and I thought it would help me with public speaking. So,
sure.
And from there, I just kind of went from karaoke to jazz jam sessions because I really like doing jazz standards, and then went from jazz standards to open mics because I couldn't find a jazz piano trio or quartet to do music with in Columbus, and so I naturally went to open mics. Was doing jazz standards with sort of instrumentals that I had just created on that, and then I saw everyone else was writing songs, so I decided that I would give it a try as well. And then I guess from there, just been writing songs for, I want to say at least 15 years. And I've been doing that ever since.
Wow. I mean, what a journey from like concert, violinist to karaoke, and then, and back. I mean, whenever you're training to do something like that, full speed and having that kind of focus on one thing, like, when you stopped, like, what was like your time like? I mean, did you feel like you kind of had a weight lifted, or you felt like it was,
well, it was about my graduating from high school.
Yeah.
And, like when you're around that age, you kind of are looking forward to college being a time where you can kind of reset your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in some ways the transition was kind of easy. I think also I had become somewhat disillusioned with the classical music industry because there were a lot of orchestras closing, and I think the classical music industry's response to that was to try and concentrate on promoting people who had a certain look, or sort of promoting this idea of prodigy as the only ways that they could try and get an audience. And I think it had left a bad taste in my mouth. Although, I think that I could have, continued to do well in that. But it was kind of a natural transition for me. I wanted a reset. I was, interested in learning new things. Princeton doesn't really have it doesn't have like a stringed instrument program. Mm-hmm. They do have like string quartets and whatnot that do residencies there and sort of instruct and educate people that are students there, but it's not really a string program. So yeah. I was ready for something else.
Yeah. I mean, have you picked up a violin since then and kind of ingrained that in the music you play today, or like is it still something kind of like, yeah, I don't.
A little bit. I mean, I have been thinking about it for a while, but I think it's difficult to do well. I don't want to badmouth anybody else's sort of attempts at incorporating classical music into pop. Because people do it. Burt Bacharach has. There's a lot of people that have done it in certain ways, but I think as especially somebody who's a soloist, so because I performed all the concertos. That was really how I saw myself incorporating the violin in that way. I don't think it's something that really it's easy to figure out how that would ever happen. Because a lot of the people that do, there are certainly many people that are classically trained violinists, and that's fine, sort of. But there's a certain level of technique and artistry for being, a soloist that I don't think I've heard something that really does what I would want it to do. A lot. You'll see a lot of stuff that has like strings in the background and playing block chords and providing background mood to like a song. I do have one song on this record where I have started to think about that, and I think maybe I have a formula that I can take with me to. I'm thinking the next record will be a lot of interesting violin stuff, and we'll see how that goes. Because my experiment on this record with the violin, I think it was taking me towards a lot of what I would be looking for doing something like that.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're building towards the violin pop record that could happen.
Yeah. Not to put a lot of stress on myself or anything.
Well, I mean, within the creation of this album here, and obviously I want to get to Lust for Life as a specific song, but like overarching, like your process, not necessarily for that one, but just for, the whole, Saint Lenox project, like, is it a lyrically first, process? Is it, something that you come up with melodies and go through? Like, give me what you do.
I think it really is, sometimes I will have, like an instrumental that I built up. So sometimes I will start there. Sometimes I may have like a line that I start with, but it's not really about, like just because I have a line that I think is cool, like that's not going to make a song by itself. It's really just like, if I find sort of a set of chords and melodies that work with it in such a way that, expresses what the lyrics are saying in an especially notable way, then like a song will, maybe a song will appear. Maybe I'll get like an A section or like a chorus out of that. But I don't think they're, starting. I don't really start with one or the other. It's really just I have to kind of see the whole package together, at least for one section of the song, in order to kind of make it work. Something that kind of really gets at. I don't know. I think expressing something that I think is noteworthy or notable. Actually, even from that perspective, it's not really about sort of music or lyrics. It's really just like, is there some sort of point of view that I think is being communicated that I'm like, oh, I think that's something that sort of is an interesting thing that people would find it very interesting to sort of see that expressed in music. I think that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Lust for Life, like, what do you think is that, thing that people would, see interesting, expressed in music? Like, what would, for that song specifically?
Well, so like that song, I had been thinking a lot about just sort of like, like protest songs. There's like, there's power in the union, and there's lots of, there's like a spirit of sort of protest songs or sort of protest sort of marches and like slogans that people will shout, when they're protesting. And I know that there's a tradition of that, and I've been thinking about trying to write a song like that. But the difficulty is that in many ways, protest and labor is not what it was sort of in previous decades. So the thing is, like, I'm not really going to write a song about that. But I had been working as a graduate student for many years, and I know that they there had been attempts to try and start a labor union a graduate student union at the Ohio State University, which I understand sort of still has not really gotten off the ground. I think there's been some work that's been done, but I'd been thinking about, well, the thing is that, the world of work now is not what it was back then. I'm sure that there are people that sort of work in like steel and mining and things of those sorts, but not really so much anymore. There's a lot of people that, like myself, maybe their parents or grandparents did that, but their parents told them to go to college, and that would be a kind of thing to help sort of liberate them or provide them with some social mobility afterwards. Especially my parents sort of immigrated from Korea, and their message to me was to educate myself, and that would be a way for me to kind of fulfill the dream that my parents had of sort of coming over to the United States. But for many people that are like myself, which I would say are elder millennials / young Gen Xers, the journey of education has been pretty difficult, and the rewards definitely haven't paid off for a lot of people, or haven't paid off immediately, or they've been sort of having to make all these trade-offs, sort of taking a lot of college debt, taking a lot of graduate student debt, taking a lot of law school debt. Myself, the picture has become a lot more complicated. It wasn't so easy as just going to college. And so, I guess thinking about that, I looked at that as a kind of way to talk about, what's happening with work now in a way that I think evokes some of the spirit of some of those labor and protest songs previously, but kind of putting it in like a new context where, like myself, I was as a very low-paid graduate student. So I moved into a new house about a year and a half ago, and as we were unpacking our stuff, I happened to catch one of my pay stubs from when I was a graduate student, and I'm not kidding you. I'm pretty sure it's the pay stub that I saw. It was a little bit over $13,000 that I made that year. That's what I was taxed on, and
It's tough living.
the thing is that. Was I starving? No, but I had difficulty making payments on things from month to month, and my credit card debt was growing significantly. It was a difficult life, and if there were things that I wanted, I definitely made budget decisions and cut down on like food spending in order to sort of get other things that I wanted, and the trade-offs you have to make. And, thinking about it in that sense, I was like, there was a point where, I think there's a story to tell about work in modern times. And I think that's a story I don't hear about it much. And I think it's worth sort of expressing that kind of view in music, if that's a way to get people to sort of think about like what is work doing for us now? Mm-hmm. And, in graduate school, the thing is, it's not really the professors. It's more the administration. They know that you love philosophy, and they end up using that as a way to kind of shortchange you in terms of your income. So I was making money teaching classes at Ohio State, and people were trying to start a union back then, and I didn't take it seriously enough at the time, and I think that's part of why. In many ways, sort of this song it's a guilt song, because I didn't pay attention to the unions back then, and I really should have. And so I think I want to sort of transport sort of my mind and maybe the listener back to like a time like that, and thinking about how important it would be to sort of have something like that, because the people that are doing things like philosophy, they're and other humanities, they're super important. They are building culture for America. It's an important project that we don't appreciate enough.
Certainly. I mean, I think like myself, was a business major, but liberal arts education, and getting the perspective from the other side of campus, helps you to build a full profile and understand other people, and be able to have, a conversation over and understand what things are rooted in and kind of
Yeah.
be able to have that theory. And
Well,
so,
just to give you an indication, I don't know if you happen to see the video for this, but to give you an example of this, how important this cultural education is. At the time that I was teaching classes, so as a graduate student and then lecturer at The Ohio State University in the philosophy department, there was another person who was a philosophy major at the same time. It's possible I may have taught him in one of my classes. I don't know. I think probably not. And that person was J.D. Vance.
oh, all right.
And I do think, like, seriously, like, I do actually seriously think about, well, if he was in one of my classes, sort of, is there anything that I could have done differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can't think about something like that if it's people are going to be who they're going to, they're on a path, I think, and you happen to be on that path at some point, which is rather interesting. But I think there's a lot of benefit, and I enjoyed the humanities part of my degree, as much as I enjoyed the part of the business part, which is what I was really striving for. And again, interpersonal communication, communicating with people, that are different than you, I think is so important. And being able to have that skill, not only in business, but in just life, I think is something that we miss today. So I think, you were doing the right work, for sure, at the time, but, getting in.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what, for every person you feel like you didn't, get through to, there's probably 5 or 6 that you did get through to that you made an impact on. So
I hope so.
But, kind of moving forward, towards the, this project, the album is American Work Song. So obviously Lust for Life, what you described right there, fits pretty well within that, ethos. Like, some of the other ones, again, you are nowhere, way smarter than I am. I don't know who the there's one that I wanted to bring up that I would love to be able to get a quick lesson on, but quasi Nico Bacon ethics, and then drunk uncle advice. I mean, I'm sure I butchered that to death, but talk to me about that one.
Quasi Nicomachean Ethics. Nicomachean Ethics was a book written by Aristotle. Purportedly, I didn't know this until later, it was written for his son, at least that's what people think, Nicomachus. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. And it's just sort of general ethical guidance that he's giving to his son, presumably for the future. As I understand it, it's not as formally written, but it contains a lot of things that many modern ethics philosophers, specifically those who study virtue ethics, sort of pay a lot of attention to. It's a very important book for them. But about at the same time, so it's called Quasi Nicomachean Ethics because over the past few years, I have a nephew. It's not my son, his nephew. That's why it's Quasi Nicomachean Ethics. Who has, he's been taking philosophy classes, and we've talked about that. And I'd been thinking a lot about just sort of, in philosophy, there's a tradition of sort of, passing on knowledge to your students and whatnot. So I wouldn't say my nephew's my student, but but there's even outside of philosophy, there's a tradition of sort of trying to pass knowledge on to other people. And what does that look like? Now, the advice that's in Quasi Nicomachean Ethics, see, it's hard for me to say as well. The advice that's there, I go back and forth between thinking that the advice is serious or it's not serious. I mean, the title, I also call it Drunk Uncle Ethics, or advice. So I think there's probably a mix of things. There's probably some things that I think are serious, but I don't want to say are serious, and so I laugh it off by saying it's not serious, and some things that I say are serious but are actually not serious. It's probably a mix of a bunch of things. But yeah, I don't know.
That's a good way to, kind of good way to put it, where you're trying to pass some unclely advice along through a song, and you get to be able to use some of the your background to be able to do that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. No, look. So, some of it's definitely not philosophical advice. Like bring like a bottle of wine when you go to a party. Like that's not really philosophical advice. That's great advice though, and a lot of younger people they don't really like understand a lot of social conventions, and there's a lot of stuff like that. Sort of understanding social conventions that's in there. I would say the stuff that sounds more philosophical will probably tend to be less serious.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's where the drunk uncle part comes in. Is that's usually the it's abstract philosophizing that's a lot of what I associate with like drunk advice at the bar or at weddings or other social functions.
I got you. Well, I want to understand. I looked up on your YouTube a couple. You've done some so far sounds. For you when you're building and want to do like live sets, is that something you've done a lot of? Like, are there things in the future that are coming up for St. Lennox that we can be excited about, or is there a tour? What's kind of this?
It's no tour for a little while. I am doing some live shows. But it's more, I'll usually I would say like my original performance setup is really like what I do when I go to open mic. It's just me with like an MP3 player, this is my phone, but something that looks like that, an MP3 player. I'll go and perform, and I really do like going to open mic to just kind of workshop material. And I think it's a better space to listen to people perform actually. I don't know why people go to shows where you really can't hear the lyrics of what the vocalist is singing half the time. I don't understand it. But if I play a more proper show that's in like a bigger venue, sometimes I will have musicians that will sort of perform on top of the track. We'll do like one quick rehearsal, and they'll perform on top of the track with me. But I'm definitely, I don't have enough time to do like a tour proper. So because I work as an attorney, it's not possible. And two, I had a child who was just born a few months ago, so I'm not doing a bunch of traveling for that. And three, so because I moved to New Jersey, a lot of the musicians that I know that I would sort of ask to perform with me, it's people that I know, like they're in New York, and it's a little bit of a hassle to try and get something like that set up. Nevertheless, like I still do get performances in. I don't know. There's a comedian. Actually, there's a few comedians. Just like the past few years, there's a comedian, Paul F. Tompkins, that I do some shows for his variety show on occasion. There's a comedian, Tom Papa, who I do some. I've done some performances with him. There's a great musician, Wesley Stace, who has a variety show called Cabinet of Wonders. A lot of great guests, really, really cool thing going on. And I've I'll find opportunities to do one-off performances here and there. And if I find a time to do something more substantive, then I will. But I don't know. I don't feel artistically compelled to do a lot of live performances for a bunch of people necessarily. Although maybe I'll feel differently about that next year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. I mean, like I think still putting out the music and people being able to enjoy that. I mean, at their leisure, and then hitting the open mics and all those variety shows. I mean, obviously you're getting that kind of, if you have that bug, it sounds like you get scratched quite a bit with the different pieces there. Well, speaking of different pieces, we're going to start with our Pete Peterson party pack of questions. I mean, it's a terrible transition going in there, but wait, we're going to go with it. We're going to go with it. The first question does have to do with pieces, and it is cake or pie. What are you eating more of?
Like, what am I in fact eating, or what would I eat more?
What would you prefer?
Oh, pie.
Pie for sure. Okay.
Yeah, since fruit is healthier.
Yeah. Salad or soup?
Salad. Soup. It's too hard. It's too easy to go high sodium, and I'm trying to cut back on my sodium.
I'm doing the same. So, sunrise or sunset? What are you seeing more of these days?
Am I seeing or prefer?
Prefer, yeah.
Sunrise. Yeah. I have a, I don't know why I'm telling you this story. I have a dog who I used to wake up most mornings the sunrise would come up and we'd wake up to the sunrise together. He went blind about a half year ago, which was very sad. But I did notice I brought him out one morning and I didn't think about this, but I turned him towards the sun and he still squinted because he can see light.
Well, there you go. He still has a little. That's good. That's good. Well, would you rather hit a home run or score a touchdown?
But that sounds too much like, would you rather be a baseball or a football player?
Which feeling would you like to have?
I think home run because for touchdown, that's more of it's a combination of, because it's the shoot, the quarterback and the catcher. No, the receiver.
Yeah.
Both combined make that happen. A home run, that's really just you who did that, right? So yeah. I think home run.
Definitely more of the solo act, and you get it's more in the kind of you have more of it in your power, definitely on a home run for sure.
Yeah. Now, notably, I perform mostly on my own and not with a band, so
makes sense. Well, are you having more nights in or nights out these days?
I have a child. Nights in.
Nights in. Fair enough. All right. On the rare case that you do get a night out and your jam comes on and you're on the dance floor, are you more likely to hit the robot or the worm?
Robot. That's just a fact.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done the worm.
All right. Fair enough. Guac or queso at your favorite Tex-Mex spot?
I would prefer queso.
Queso. Okay.
You can do stuff with that. Guac, you can't really do much with guac before it turns into a different condiment.
Waffles or pancakes? What do you prefer there?
Really depends because there's so many different kinds of pancakes and so many different kinds of waffles. What I would like to try, which I have not yet tried, is one of the bubble egg waffles. Have you seen one of those?
No.
Go look it up after this. Go look up these egg waffles. This bubble. It's like a different pattern. Look it up. Now there are many different kinds of pancakes. Regular buttermilks that I enjoy. A souffle pancake I have never tried, have seen, but I don't think I would like. But I think there's more waffle variations that I would be interested in. So waffle.
All right, he's going waffles. All right, coffee or tea with your waffles?
I am under a strict advice from my doctor to avoid acid, and so I would be drinking tea.
Got it. Okay. Dogs or cats? I think we know that we hinted at this one earlier, but
I mean, I know that I am more of a dog person, but I love my cats as well. We've got 2 cats and a dog.
All right. Are you more like a ninja or a pirate, would you say, your personality?
I'm more of a pirate.
Yeah. Okay. Gatorade. Yeah, good.
That just is what I am.
All right. Gatorade or Powerade? What do you prefer there?
I want to say neither because both are high in sodium, which I'm trying to avoid. But if I am going to target I would target the more well-known one as the one I didn't want to do. So I would say Powerade.
Powerade. Okay. All right. Toast or bagels in the morning?
To eat, I would say bagels. I do a lot of baking, but bagels are notoriously difficult to make. So that's why I would like to eat one.
Yeah,
because I can't make it.
Fair enough. Chips or pretzels?
What is this? Is this like a standard potato chip?
Yeah, you got all the different potato chips versus what you'd consider a pretzel, including soft pretzels as well.
Oh,
that always steers people. They always hear that and they're like, "Oh man."
I do a soft pretzel.
Soft pretzel. Okay.
Yeah, I'm more of a bread. I like bread.
Yeah. Fries or tots? All sodium aside.
I would go with I think fries are a little more versatile in terms of working with dips.
Sure. All right. After a long day at the office, are you more likely to unwind with a TV show or a movie?
Oh, TV show. Yeah. Movies are too engrossing, and once you've watched the movie, then you have to come up with what to watch the next day. With TV show, you can if you pick the right one, you can you ride that out for a few months at least.
Yeah, for sure. Aliens, are they real?
And you don't mean aliens, have we seen them? You mean aliens, are they real?
Are they real? Do you believe in your heart, even if we haven't seen them?
Does alien mean that they're like sentient?
Yeah.
Okay, so like a plant, like on Nebulon 5 doesn't count as an alien.
It's got to talk.
Maybe, yeah. I want to say yes, but I think whatever they are, they probably are very different than how we conceive of them.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Bigfoot, is that concept real? Do we feel like there is a North American giant ape
currently in existence?
Yeah.
That ties to like some kind of sighting that people have seen?
Yeah.
No.
Fair enough. What about love at first sight? Is that real?
No. Because love is a commitment. It's an act. So yeah.
I've never heard anybody say that. We haven't had anybody say that, so that's a good way.
Really? It's like a common sitcom fodder. Yeah, it's like if when you love somebody, so it's an act of making a decision to stay with them.
Mm-hmm.
Among many other things. So love at first sight, I think
All right. And the final question of Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Give us 2 artists that we ought to check out that we might not know, maybe broaden our horizons, or 2 people you want to shout out that are in your kind of circles, or people you're just digging on.
Jeez. There was this guy, Ryan Wong, who had I'm gonna look up the record. I listened to it a bit last year, and I was like, oh, it's interesting country angle. The name of the record is The New Country Sounds of Ryan Wong, and it was just very different and compelling. I thought it was very interesting. And Niall Connolly's a good friend of mine who I've hung out with over the last 10 years or so. His last record is called The Patience of Trees. This is a great singer-songwriter. It's a classic New York singer-songwriter. Has been a stalwart in the community, really just supporting people. More people should check him out because he is like, as a matter of New York City music history, like I think he is a figure, and so people should know who he is.
So say his name one more time. I couldn't.
Niall Connolly, NIALLCONNOLLY.
Niall Connolly. All right, we'll have to check him out, and of course Ryan Wong, and check out the New Country Sounds album. We'll have to give a listen to that and give it a review back. But obviously, Andrew St. Lenox, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you sharing some philosophy, sharing some of the stories behind the songs, and look forward to the rest of the the 10 American Work songs getting released here by the end of the year, and looking forward to listening to the rest of those.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you.